Africa and all of the death and destruction that is occurring there, as well as all of the wealth that is present, and some of the struggles, especially the Europeans still being deeply involved in most of the struggles. And Dr. LMadu, let's pick up where you wish in reference to this over the last 10 minutes that we have.
Yeah, so, while Mobutu was being overthrown in 1997, by Kabila, in Congo, in the Republic of the Congo, in Brazzaville, Sassou Nguesso, who was former president, his Cobra, militia was busy fighting with the government of Pascal Lissouba, and eventually Sassou Nguesso overthrew Lissouba and took over and devastated the whole country and Brazzaville. Up to now, they're still rebuilding, as we speak. But most of the things that happen in both Congos happen in the DRC because it's bigger, has larger mineral resources and all this. So most of the time is the problems in DRC overshadow what is happening in the Republic of the Congo.
Even tremendous destruction and et cetera is going on, but it's nothing compared to what's going on.
Exactly, what's going on in DRC. Exactly. So most of what you hear is things happening in DRC because of the size and the size of the loot and all that, and because of its history since 1960, So that war has killed about 5.4 million people. Now, what is significant about DRC is that when you have problem in that country, it affects the neighboring countries. Now, it is surrounded by over 8 countries, and all of them will suffer the effects. Tanzania, Mozambique, Angola, Republic of the Congo, you name it, Uganda, all these countries are around. So that's what has been happening. With that civil war, refugees are running into all these other countries, and these refugees, what happens, they turn over and become nearly armed gangs themselves to come back, you see. So that's the big problem. So if you look around there, you have about 5.4 million killed in DRC, in this so-called African World War. Then in Rwanda, you had over almost 1 million killed. That's what precipitated the war in the Congo. Because when the Hutus, who were slaughtering the Tutsis, ran away, when Jara Kagame came in with the Tutsi army and drove them out, they all ran to the Democratic Republic of the Congo and armed themselves and started, armed cross-border incursions into Rwanda. Kagame had no, choice but to pursue them, send his army into the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And Kabila was waiting already, so they used Kabila as a prop because they accused Mobutu of arming the Hutu insurgents and letting them stay. So with that, Ugandans also came in because the Ugandans also related. You see, they have relations with those in Rwanda, because a lot of those who live in Uganda are also Tutsi, you see. And most of those in Rwanda in charge now are Tutsi also. Museveni, the president, is Tutsi. In a way, they are called Himas in Uganda. So, but he's Tutsi. Anyway. Exactly. So he has an interest in supporting his fellow Tutsis in Rwanda. You see. So most of those who live at the border between Rwanda and the Congo are Tutsis. Even though they are, Congolese citizens, their ethnic allegiance is in Rwanda. So they were used, as conduits, when these people invaded. So it's problematic. Then in Sudan, the same thing. In Angola, the rebels from DRC take shelter in Angola. Then the rebels in Angola take shelter
in DRC.
Exactly. So you see how these cross-border problems.
Well,
and then interfamily relationships.
During the last 3 or 4 minutes here, it really does not appear that there is any kind of solution to that kind of violence and that kind of disorganization and chaos, I think, as you've indicated. I mean, what entity can deal with all of those elements within the Congos?
Well, if one wants to, specifically with DRC, we might apportion some blame at times, say the Belgians and all this. But really, ultimately, responsibility is at the feet of the African rulers themselves. You see, quite frankly, the colonizers have came in did what they did or whatever and left. And in fact, you know, the colonizers weren't all that selfish. They built firm structures, even in Leopoldville when they were there, you know. But the African rulers, when they came in with a lot of ethnic garbage, ethnic baggage, you know, put it that way, you know, catering for the interests of their ethnic groups and themselves instead of seeing themselves as, you know, nationalists. And those Africans who came in as nationalists were not liked by the departing colonialists. You know what I mean? Yes, people like Nkrumah, Nyerere, Lumumba, they were not very liked because they came in with a broad-mindedness into
bring all of Africa,
exactly,
total Africa by Africans
exactly,
kind of thing.
build their countries up, and they weren't corrupt. But the corrupt ones who were willing to be corrupted by the departing colonizers were the ones who started creating these problems. You see, so genuine African leaders have come in, but in cooperation with, you know, the internal, you know, fifth columnists. The Western powers were able to sabotage what good they wanted to do for their people. So really, you can ascribe 90% of the blame to the African leaders. Really, you know, a lot of, okay, for example, all these leaders looting money in Africa. Hey, people from Washington are not going over there taking the money and putting it in their pocket. Yeah, they are doing it themselves. You see? So a lot of those problems you see now in the Democratic Republic of Congo boils down to the same thing since 1960. You know, it's my ethnic group first instead of the nation. You know, when Kabila came in, a lot of people had high hopes. But I said at that time in the Tennessean interview that, look, being in the bush as a guerrilla leader is a different thing than being an administrator. There are two different things. Yeah, Kabila has been in the bush since 1960s, with, you know, when he was part of the Lumumba's system. But he has never governed anything. And when he came in, he displayed that incompetence. He was busy looking out for himself instead of, you know, rallying the people, you know, not paying his troops, the people who are supposed to guard you. From the story I heard, he abused his bodyguards so badly that even when they were hungry, they have not been paid. You know, the people who guard you, your life, that shows the arrogance of our leaders there. His own bodyguards have not been paid for a while. So some of them were very hungry one afternoon. Kabila's wife, you know, gave them some chicken to eat. They said Kabila drove in and took it away from the soldiers. We're supposed, okay, that's just a story from the Congolese. Okay, so that's the kind of callousness, the way they treat their people. That's an example there. That you know, their interest is not everybody's interest, but their own. Okay, a country like that with those riches, is there any reason why they shouldn't have the best hospitals?
Everything, everything.
Best roads, best schools, with so much wealth everywhere? That's a good question. Nobody's preventing them from doing that, but the people who run the country, you see? So that's a big problem. Republic of the Congo is the same, with 4.5 million people with so much oil to develop everywhere. Yet people be complaining about food, water, electricity. So it's not the French preventing Sassou Nguesso and his regime from improving the people's lives. You see, they might have, you know, some strings to pull. Don't misunderstand me. They still pull some strings. But 90% of the strings is in African hands. You know, the French and the Belgians and the, you know, might have some strings they pull in terms of finances. Say, look, our interests.
But still, the great ability to be able to change things is not with France or Europe or
That's
whatever.
correct.
It's with Africans,
with the Africans
and the Congolese themselves on both sides of the river.
Exactly, it's with the Congolese themselves. It's not the Belgians, and the Belgians don't even have enough power to do anything now, whatever the Congo wants to do.
And Dr. Madu, we're ending this show for today, but I think that the information that you've given is just revealing in terms of what is going on in the Congo. We rarely hear anything, all of millions of people being killed and et cetera, and yet and still we hear very little about it, and it seems as if a lot of folks are caught up in hopeless kinds of situations, and I'm glad that you could bring us by some information in reference to that. And let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.